So why retain versus contingent? When all of the businesses I've worked with over the last 3 or 4 years, working on a contingent basis, have a fill rate of anywhere between 10-15% up to sometimes as much as 40 or 50%. When you switch to a retained model, or you secure that business on a retained basis, it dramatically improves, up to usually between 95 and 100% fill rate, which of course means that you're being productive almost 100% of the time, versus working on fees that don't actually result, or projects that don't result in a fee. Lots of other benefits as well. It gives you the ability to be able to forecast revenue, and it escalates your relationships. Once you start talking to clients about having the ability to be able to operate on a retained basis, it puts you in at the table for senior, confidential and strategic positions, and brings you in as more of a meaningful partner to the client. And importantly, for your teams, gives you engages, consultants that we've worked with that have switched from contingent to retained have fallen back in love with recruitment again, and have realised that it doesn't have to be the fight and the race that contingent often is. So the question is, why haven't you done it already? We all know, a lot of us do know that it is it's a better way of working, and we'd like to work with our clients in that way. Most of the businesses we work with have wanted to do so for some time, and they've even taught some of their consultants or provided training to their teams on how to sell retainers, and even got some experience of doing so, and have got some really great consultants and some brilliant energy and drive, but haven't managed to secure consistent or long-term or robust retained revenue, or build a search service line. So what's the problem and what's going wrong? And the reason we look at this is because then we can unlock how to actually put it right and how to make it happen. And the main reason that I've experienced is that there's a barrier, and that is that there's a preconception often and a perception around retained search, anywhere from not really knowing what it is, which is where I was. I just didn't really know what executive search was. I thought it was for senior hires. Lots of recruiters have either know of somebody, or have run a retained search before, and then not really known how to deliver it, or struggled to deliver it, or delivered it on a contingent basis in the same way, and then thought it was a bit of a fluke. And the thing is, it can really put people off, and importantly, a lot of consultants don't actually know what it is. And the problem is, if you don't know really exactly what it is, it's very difficult to explain to a client why they should work in this way. It's better for you, but why is it better for the client? So what is retained search? Is it just money up front? Is it headhunting? Is it some financial commitment? Is it dropping everything else and just concentrating all your time on it? And to do that, what I want to do to explain and help you explain what it is I want to give you a couple of analogies that I use quite often, that you might have seen on a video recently, but it's useful to hear again, I think, if you have, and that's the grading system, the iceberg, and the house for sale. So if you consider that on a contingent basis, with often as recruiters, contingent recruiters, we're working on anywhere between 5, maybe 2 or 3 or 4, and 10 or 15 positions at any one time. And in order to prioritise that work, and in order to achieve our targets, our revenue targets, we have to concentrate on working on those that are most likely to result in a fee. And so we grade those jobs. So if it's a great company, a great brand, it's an easy to fill position, we're confident that the client's going to come back to us and we're going to get engagement, then that's an A grade job. If for any reason it's more difficult, it's a niche skill set, it's going to take longer to find the candidate, or we're not getting feedback from the client, or it's a challenging location, it goes further down the list of priorities. And then if we know that there are other agencies working on it, it actually goes even further down the list of our priorities. So the clients often make the mistake of thinking that by putting the position out to several different agencies, what they're doing is duplicating the effort and duplicating the effect. What they're actually doing is diluting the effort that they get from each recruiter. And then when you realise that the percentage of any given talent pool, 30% of any given talent pool is active, and the majority of any given talent pool is not active, in much the same way as 30% of the iceberg is above the water, which is hence my primitive picture there. But when you consider that we're working on this basis, contingent recruiters, not just you or I, but every contingent recruiter with limited time to risk, can only access that 30 or possibly 40 or at best 50% of those candidates who will either respond to an advert or is open to opportunities on their LinkedIn profile, or at a stretch will respond to initial approaches, LinkedIn messages or emails. But the 70% of that talent pool, or the rest of that talent pool, that isn't visible and won't respond to initial approaches, don't tend to get approached, because there is only so much time that you can afford to dedicate to it when you're working at risk. And often, unfortunately, it's those same candidates that get approached, of course, because those are the ones that will respond. So then when you consider that there are multiple agents accessing those same candidates and approaching often those same candidates, and a lot of the time with slightly different messages, the client runs the risk of looking a little bit like a house for sale with multiple for sale signs outside. Even though there might not necessarily be anything wrong with the position or the proposition, it can have a really detrimental effect on the marketplace, not just for now and not just that talent pool right now, but the talent pool in the future, because if they're not right now, they may be of interest to the business further down the line, and of course they talk to each other. Then when you consider that on a contingent basis, we're actually in a race. As soon as we find a candidate that looks to be suitable and have the right skill set and meet the criteria, we've got to get that CV over to the client now, as quickly as possible, because we run the risk of somebody else getting there first, of course. So what time does that actually give us to firstly assess that candidate and make sure they are actually right for the position? But secondly, give that candidate time to consider the proposition, to really consider the opportunity, and to decide that yes, it's something that they're interested in pursuing. It really leaves us vulnerable to the candidate changing their mind and not having fully considered the opportunity, and that candidate not actually being quite right because we haven't really in-depth fully assessed them. That's when you realise that it's no wonder that we struggle to provide a great service on a contingent basis. It is so difficult working with the constraints of the process as it stands like that, and it is very difficult for clients to understand that without walking them through and educating them on the position that we're in. So with that in mind, just to define what retained search is, it's financial commitment from a client which allows us to apply a robust process and rigorous methodology which gives us the absolute guaranteed best possible result, the best result that is available to us in the market at this time. So the commitment from them is a commitment from us to delivering and committing to working with them until the position is filled, which we cannot do